We are live. It is Sunday sermon work with Eric and Jake, and I'd like to talk about spirituality, but since we're both dudes, we're probably going to end up talking about alternative technology and the airplane lady, which I already have queued up. So,
I'm curious.
Yeah, working on my layout. I've got right below me is my work screen, and below that's the little slideshow I made, and then the main work screen over here. Direct your attention. So yeah, Eric, what's on your mind?
It's blank, completely blank, basically drilling out of the corner of my mouth at this point.
I did make you wait kind of a long time this morning. You haven't seen the...
Just imagine a vegetative state. That's where I'm at.
You haven't seen the plane lady footage?
No, you'll have to tell me what you're talking about.
Do you have your stream up?
Give me a little synopsis. Before you play it.
Some woman went nuts on a plane, and they kind of had to drag her off of it, and then there was some weird conspiracy behind who she was and whatnot after that. But this woman freaked out on a plane, legit. But then after that, it was kind of like her, and the whole story was kind of swept under the rug. So I'll just let you watch it.
That motherfucker back there is not real. And you can spit on this plane and you can die with them or not. I'm not going to.
As you just heard, the woman was pointing to the back on the plane saying someone was not real.
What?
The plane was heading from DFW.
She says it 2 or 3 times. I've seen that. No one shows the full video footage. It's lame that no one will show the freaking full footage. Just of the whole incident, front to back.
I don't care if I'm ever fly with y'all ever again. I want to know what happens to this flight right here. Great. I don't ever want to fly with you ever again.
If you don't leave, you'll be under arrest for criminal trespass. This is your warning right here.
Do not let that flight leave. Being dead serious. Do not let that flight leave.
You ready? Let's go.
Oh, did anything happen to the plane?
No.
You heard me.
Then she's just a crazy bitch. So who gives a shit?
I don't know. A lot of people found her convincing. I'm telling you, there's some of the footage of her on the plane that's been taken out. I don't know why.
Stop the plane. Stop the plane.
This woman straight up flips out and has to get away from this guy.
Not going to. Nope.
And it turns out, you see her talking, she's not really high. She is definitely having a panic attack, but she saw something back there.
I need to get the off this plane. See what happens. See what happens after this. See what happens. Where's your bag? Is your bag? You want to get the truck off the edge. See what the happens after she has a bag. I don't even give a about
See him.
License verified, disarm door, standby for all call.
Did she ever explain what she saw?
No, man, that's what I'm saying. She disappeared. And then they totally put in a different woman.
I'm a licensed attorney, so just be careful.
What do you mean they put in a different person?
It's a completely different woman. The person who talks, who's supposedly her afterwards, is not the same woman.
I'm telling you, I'm getting the off. And there's a reason why I'm getting the off, and everyone can either believe it or they cannot believe it.
Well, where's this person that's supposedly hurt?
But I am telling you right now, that mother back there is not real. And you can sit on this plane and you...
I think she's nuts.
Yeah? I'm not always, like, so ready to immediately call people nuts. I feel like that's too dismissive.
It may be, but knowing what I know right now, I don't know enough information to make an informed opinion. So therefore, I'm going to default to nuts because I don't have enough info.
Well, okay, so then what would make a woman, like, freak out like that? Like, what kind of drugs would she have to be on?
She wouldn't have to be on anything. She could have just had some kind of, big-time anxiety about planes, and she saw someone acted a little weird or a little strange, and just, had a little psychotic break, a little dissociation, and there you go.
Fair? I mean, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I feel like it was a real extended psychotic break. I don't know. I feel like it was like she couldn't calm down. I'm just not always...
Some people have very, very irrational fears of planes.
Fair.
It's like arachnophobia or anything else. There's no reasonable behind it. They just snap. Maybe she had a bad fucking week. She was already all up in her feels, and then she saw something weird or some weird person. Some weird looking person, and it just set her off. She was already afraid of flying, and now she's like,
There was a
some
bunch
people just
of...
don't like them.
I don't know. I'm not sure why I like that story so much. I do tend to like some of the weird ones, but there was a bunch of stuff about aliens and whatnot afterwards. I mean, nothing's
if
come
something
of
had
it.
happened to the plane, or if anybody else had seen something, then you'd have something.
And
But with only the one person, no interview with her afterwards that I've seen.
No.
If you want to show it to me and it looks like the same person, I'll believe it. If it looks like a different person, then I won't. But
I can show you. I mean, I can show you some of those. Those are not hard to find at all. In fact, more of those ones come up. Yeah, so this is supposedly the chick.
Hi everyone, it's me, Tiffany Gomez.
That doesn't look like
probably
her.
better known
No, not at all.
as the crazy plane lady.
What?
Which is completely warranted.
hang on, let me hear.
As you know, I have been unwilling to speak on the viral video, but I do finally feel that it's time. First and foremost, I want to take full accountability for my actions. They were completely unacceptable. Distressed or not, I should have been in control of my emotions, and that was not the case. My use of profanity was completely unnecessary, and I want to apologize to everyone on that plane, especially those that had children aboard. Can't imagine going through that and trying to explain to your kid what in the world just happened.
I shouldn't say shit about it, but totally not her. No southern drawl. That girl clearly had a southern drawl. Like a South Texas, like a Houston, like city girl, like bullshit.
Yeah, you're right. It does
I
not.
gotta ask, how does it feel to be traveling again?
Great.
In the airport again after what you went through?
A little bit of anxiety, but it's been good.
A
I mean,
lot
that
of
looks like
people
her.
are curious
I don't know. I don't believe it.
what exactly you saw.
You're welcome to look more into it. But she's.
Probably won't.
I'm not convinced.
It's a closed case in my book.
I think a
Crazy
woman.
lady.
I think this woman.
Wait,
No.
so okay.
I think the woman in that picture has not been heard from. The woman who was on that plane, she was
That woman looks older.
Right, and she uses too many Masonic symbols. Like, apparently she was like, see, I don't really remember the story. I just remember at the time I was unconvinced. But the story is that, like, she does have some, like, military background, and she's using all these Masonic symbols, hand gestures and shit. And she was on the back of this plane. She flipped out, and she said she saw, like, an alien, like it was a shape changer. That's what she said. She said to people around her, and like people were like kind of freaked out by this person who was sitting back there. And it's like some dude, you can see him in some of the footage. And she's like honestly freaking out, and she's like, she even talks about like pharmacology and shit. Like she's like, there's a long drawn out thing. Like it wasn't like seconds, it was like an hour of her trying to like convince the back of this plane to like get the fuck off of it. So there, yeah,
I mean,
it was.
I don't doubt that she saw something, but was it really what she thought it was? I don't know.
Dude, I'm not making any assumptions about that. I just know that this cover story afterwards was all total fucking horseshit. It was unbelievable. I didn't believe a goddamn second of it. That's what I'm trying to say. So, not that I'm.
Well, fair enough.
I'm not really even taking sides or anything or saying, but it sounded like she thought that there was like some kind of like alien being or something on the back there, and it was like sitting next to him, which is pretty wild. Which is pretty wild. So, but anyways, yeah, there's that. Oh,
gotcha.
What do you think that any of that kind of stuff has to do with spirituality, like aliens and extraterrestrials?
I mean, not really. I mean, it could, sure, but does my head automatically go there? No, not particularly.
What is spiritual? What's spiritual for you? Do you care about spirituality at all?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, that's a hard question to answer. Really fucking difficult question to answer, honestly. I don't even know where to even answer it.
Well, because your friend, like, you know, wants to start a church on Sundays, and you have some stake in it. So I kind of just am curious about your take on it. Like, do you think that I mean,
I think there's something out there. I think any reasonable person should suspend all disbelief in all things. They should go into everything with eyes open. They should never be closed-minded to anything, because anything's possible in this world, in my opinion. I think it does everybody a disservice to just automatically just say anything any which way is wrong, or no, that's bullshit, or I don't know. I think everybody should keep their mind open as much as possible.
What if a little belief in taking care of... Okay, see, here's the thing is, like if I talk about spiritual wellness, I also kind of feel the same thing about like physical wellness too. I think they're linked. So that doesn't mean we always necessarily take care of our spiritual self, but nonetheless, the belief in having it. You know what I mean? That there is this spiritual side to humanity, to you, to me, whatever. And what if I told you that spending some time practicing spirituality could like give you powers?
I mean, you'd have to explain.
Let's say that just for starters, if you meditated, you could get or like really powerful information on physics and mathematics without having to study.
I would have to try it and see if I could.
Like, let's say that a couple hours of meditation could give you a year or two worth of studying some kind of physics. What if
I mean, it doesn't mean anything to me. It sounds like hoo-hoo unless I were to be able to verify it myself.
What if you could manifest dreams? And, you know, maybe
that doesn't sound difficult in any way, shape, or form. So,
oh, okay, well, that says something itself. So, but what if I told you that having, you know, a more spiritual approach to it would make you better at that stuff?
Yeah, maybe, but I don't see what that has to do with anything.
Well, I guess I'm trying to say that I think I'm starting to believe that space-time is a little bit different than we have been led to believe that it is. And that we probably have powers that kind of go beyond the way we see them. That we have a lot more physical control over space and time than we think we do. Like than what, you know, we're taught in schools and stuff like that, that there is, you know, essentially like magic out there. I don't really think it's magic. I think it's science. I think that our brainwaves and consciousness can kind of collapse waveforms. So if we think about things really hard and dream about things, like we can actually create universes in a sense. So that, you know, higher dimensional thinking, from a more spiritual thinking, can essentially grant you powers compared to people who don't do it, who don't take a more spiritual view.
Possible. I wouldn't discount it, but
okay, so then
the evidence for that.
Oh, I don't know. See, that's the thing, is I disagree. Like, now that I'm starting to see it, I see it everywhere. And like, I'm someone who studies math and quantum mechanics, and I'm starting to go, this isn't magic, this is quantum mechanics. In fact, quantum mechanics says this is the case. It says that our consciousness is what collapses space-time. And we can see all these other dimensions that are all rolled up out there. And as an 80-year-old physical construct, we can't really manipulate it too much. There's only so much we can manipulate, right? But what if your brainwaves can physically collapse waveforms and you could live, I mean, the implications are kind of deep. Like, I don't want to like tell you the implications. I kind of want you to kind of like arrive to them. You know, what some of that means. But I mean, on the surface level, it means that humans are much more like 5-dimensional creatures. Like we can reach out in space and time and collapse it with our waveforms. So if we can look at a 4-dimensional space from the outside and run it back and forth in our brain, that makes us 5-dimensional. So that would make us 5-dimensional beings. And I feel like humans are really limited to, like, we're almost limited to 3rd dimensions, like with technology and the rat race and not living paycheck to paycheck and buying houses that are made out of cardboard. That, like, if you take a more spiritual approach, that, like, you just, like, will have, you know, you'll become a 5-dimensional creature with very little training. and
to what end?
Huh?
To what end?
Just to make your whole existence better. Everything around it. I mean, you know, there's this interesting concept, it's like always yin and yang, right? Like let's say there's reincarnation, right? And so humans are kind of like in this game of, if you could live every life and you lived every life if you, you know, sat back and watched the coolest explosions in the universe. Like, how'd you do it? How would you manifest like a game for yourself? And you would like go, okay, I'm gonna create this difficulty level and set it with this time period. Go, you know, like, whoo, that was a shitty 80 years. I think I can do another one. Like, it doesn't matter. I can rewrite the rules. I can give myself 100 years, or I can do 20 years this time. You know, like, I can be a bird, live a short life. You know, some of the other religions have a little bit more open-minded view, like, you know, Buddhism and Taoism and things like that. But just the work of, like, just doing the work, like giving it a shot, trying it a little bit, you know, finding a couple of things that resonate with you, and see what you're good at, like what you have talents for.
I mean, I believe the mind is an extremely powerful thing, and people in general can make themselves believe just about anything. And not only that, but there's words I'm looking for.
And I'm saying, if given the opportunity, to manifest anything you want, would you?
No, it's just one issue I think you have is you'll make an assumption that leads you down a rabbit hole of a lot of other assumptions.
I think it has more to do. Sorry. I think it has more to do with just being open-minded to it. Like, I'm not saying this is necessarily a belief.
Well, you can be open-minded, but I know you're a skeptic, probably just as much as I am. However, you are a little quicker to believe something than I am, in my opinion.
Sure, but it's not even believe, it's like entertain, you know? That's something you gotta understand. It's am I willing to entertain it?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's really all it is. It's the only difference is am I willing to entertain this? And, yeah. And I am. Like, I'm totally willing to pretty much entertain anything, you know, like I'll entertain, like, there's very little that you couldn't, get me to take a look at the very least. Like, it would be really tough. I mean, like, there's things I've looked into myself, like flat Earth. Like, it's just silly. Like, I just think that flat Earth is just silliness.
Of course it's silliness. It's mental illness, really.
Well, here's the thing: is people ask me, like, what is it? What? Then what do we live on? I'm like, it doesn't matter what we live on. It's turtles all the way down. You know, you can keep looking. There's not going to be an end. Like, just keep looking. Like, you know, you can keep looking as long as you want. There's not going to be an end. It's going to be turtles all the way down. So it doesn't matter what we're on. It is what it is, and it goes on for a really fucking long time. Excuse my language. And that's the truth. Some good work with, like, pros on masonry and such. Really appreciate it. I do. They do a really good job. I've watched some of the other stuff. They're a little slow because they're a small company. You know, it looks like there's probably about a dozen of them. And they go out and they do these things, like, real high-tech, expensive shit. And do, like, really cool measurements and stuff. So. But anyways, I watch their videos when they come up, because they really do good stuff. But anyways. Yeah, but would you not, like, if you... here's the thing, Eric, because I don't want to get, like, too crazy with you about it. I don't want to go like, well, what if you could lift stones with your mind? I'm just not really what I'm trying to say, but what if you could just open yourself up to being able to just live more time, live more life, and live more of life in a manner that you want to live it. Essentially being able
I
to.
think that's within the realm of possibility for anybody. What do you mean?
Okay, but then why would you not want to practice it? If you really have these powers, why would you not do it?
Laziness.
Is that it? What if?
Social
I just feel like
programming.
the risk reward for us is like so amazing, so fantastical. It's kind of like Pascal's wager. Do you know Pascal's wager?
No. What's that?
So
Explain it to me.
I like this one. He's an old Catholic mathematician philosopher. His name is Pascal. He had this wager, and he said that the reason why it's hard to deny being a Christian is that so all the other religions, they just don't give the same offer. Like Jesus Christ gives a really good offer. All you gotta do is believe, and you get infinite bliss when you die. If you don't believe, you're fucked. And then there's
you can also believe at any point in your life, and
that's not. He doesn't.
Basically.
You don't have to get into any of those other philosophical. There's just 4 choices, right? There's if God does exist, and you believe, then you're good. You're gold. And if you don't believe, then you go to hell. Now, if God doesn't exist and you believe that He does, you haven't lost anything. Now, there's some debate on that one. But if the wager is for something, eternal life, then you haven't lost anything. And if you don't believe and there isn't God, it doesn't matter either way. So you kind of don't have this choice. Like you kind of either get to believe in God, you can believe in life everlasting or not. Up to you. Doesn't matter. And I feel like we've kind of hit a new version of Pascal's wager. And that's that you can believe in magic or not. It's there. Science even says it is, but you have to believe it in order to use it, is what it's saying. Like you have to use it. Like you have to go try to use it, or it doesn't exist for you. Take your pick. If you don't exist, don't use it, doesn't matter.
It's still something that can't be measured, isn't mainstream. It's not talked about.
Relevant though. Here's the thing though. This is the reason why I love it. This is the reason why I love it, and the reason why it's the new Pascal's wager. Because you can just go fucking try it, and if it doesn't work, you can stop doing it. Like if you don't get any benefit out of it, if it doesn't work for you, then don't do it. Like if you're a muggle, then it's a waste of your time. I like to call people muggles or not, muggles or wizards. Like either you can do it or you can't. Like. If you want to be a muggle, the easiest way to be a muggle is to just believe everybody is a muggle. You see what I'm saying? Like, and that's it. Like, that world won't exist for you. Like, you don't have to worry about it. You don't ever have to look back. You can just go, everybody's a fucking muggle, even people that say they're wizards. Like, all these people that say they're wizards, they're absolutely out of their fucking mind. They're all muggles. Or you can believe in wizardry, and then you can actually learn to use some of it. Take your pick. It's that simple. It's just a modern Pascalian wager.
Sure. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
So, and I'm telling you, I've used it a couple times. It shit's powerful, man.
Quote unquote use magic. I mean, it's just a form of manipulation, or a form of wrapping your head around something in a different way, looking at it a different way, in order to elicit a response out of you, to elicit a response out of something else.
Here's the thing. If your goal is essentially to manipulate your own universe, like be able to manipulate space and time for you and your family and things like that, and you're not really out to hurt anybody, why not? Why wouldn't you learn? In fact, I think
my point is it doesn't matter what you call it. if you're an intelligent person, you've already learned to do this. I mean, I cast spells on people all fucking day, every day. Every time I talk to somebody, I manipulate them into thinking the way I want them to think.
Well, then become a wizard with me, Eric.
I already am one.
Oh, okay.
I
Fair.
always
That's
have been.
that's fair. That's fair. I like that. I like that attitude. That's a good confidence. I think you have to have that to be a wizard. For sure.
But all I'm really doing is attributing a word to a behavior that I already do. I manipulate everything around me to work in my favor or what I choose to do.
I really feel
I realized
that
a long time ago I'm the center of my own universe, and it's up to me to manipulate things around me to how I want them to be. Whether that's saying certain words to people in a certain way to elicit a response that I want, or whether it's being in a place other than where I want to be, or all kinds of different things.
So, hey, this is cool.
My time, there's all kinds of ways to manipulate things around you to elicit the response that you want out of life.
So check out this about the caves. I like this about the caves. So they're talking about the polish. They're getting done talking about how the polish is so much more precise than any modern polishing that it's kind of silly to think that these people did it by hand. Okay, so here's what's really cool. This is those same caves we were talking about the other day. You remember that, right? So
yes,
these things had to have been done 3D from like an aerial or some kind of like cut through. You see this?
Yeah.
Because the way they're laid out. And I don't know, that's pretty impressive. That like you're talking about like some sort of like serious water jet 3D imaging. And they have, of course, for whatever reason, these guys like to stick a bunch of mathematical equations in their stuff. So what you'll see is like the way they do their cross sections and the way they build them. Like they're like stretchable CAD viewings. So they're essentially doing like they're pulling out CAD. Like they can see the software inside in the way they rendered their drawings. This is modern stuff. In fact, there's some updates to their software it gave them, which is pretty impressive. I'm starting to lean that they were probably done with water jets rather than lasers.
Which makes sense, and it's something that is possible with any sort of technology, really.
It just like out of sheer practicality, I think that like lots of heat's probably not the best way to do it. I think it's probably abrasiveness or like, or mix, depending on like which thing they're trying to do. And another thing too is I think that these ones happen to be cut out of the hardest of rocks, and that's the reason why they lasted this long. So they're probably really, 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 really old, based on the wear and tear on them. Like they've been through several civilizations of people, and but they were definitely built for short people. So whoever built them were little. Like all the openings are like 5 foot tall. Like a 6 foot tall man has to bend down to get in there. So they're definitely smaller than us. Maybe not significantly smaller. Maybe like average like 5'5", women, like small women size. But anyway, so this kind of stuff though brings into question for me like spirituality and time travel and stuff. And it just is, it's like all this stuff just makes me, I'm telling you, it's like pulling down this veil. Have you seen the allegory of the cave?
No, what is that?
If there's any good allegory of the caves. I bet you there are some. So these ones are kind of long. No, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what the allegory of the cave is. I've done this plenty. I'll tell you what the allegory of the cave is. So, Plato's allegory of the cave is that there's a bunch of these people that are put in the cave, right? And they're chained to this cave wall, and there's an opening behind them, but they can't see the opening, and all they can see is shadows. So all that they can see in the world is the shadows that have been cast on the cave walls. That's it. So somehow one of these guys who's chained up gets out, right? No one else wants to leave. The guy gets out of the cave. He goes out of the cave and he's like, oh my God. He sees color. He sees trees. He sees birds. He hears birds chirping for the first time. He sees a fruit. He walks up to the fruit and he sees a red apple, and it's like the tastiest thing he's ever had. He's been given slop that has no flavor. He's been given no sensory perception prior to this. And so he goes back in the cave to these people who are chained up. I'm like, oh yeah, you're full of shit. That's not what's going on out there. Leave us alone. You're crazy talk. That's all. That's crazy.
Yeah, just because they haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right. So then he goes back and he leaves. He leaves the cave again, comes back, and comes back in with more knowledge. And he convinces one other person to leave. Right. And this person, when they leave the cave, they have that same experience as the first one did, and it's like this infantile. Like you're an infant when you come out, like your eyes hurt, you're dizzy. There's just too much of your senses. Like if you ate and you had food, you can talk to the person next to you. You can communicate. You can touch the other person next to you. It would be like essentially a rebirth, you'd feel reborn. You'd have a whole different, perception. And particularly compared to the ones who are in the cave, and the ones who don't want to leave the cave, who want to stay in that cave. And there's this kind of eternal duty that you should go back in the cave and pull people out of the cave. Particularly if you care about them, you should pull them out. But it talks to a larger message, and that's that it doesn't stop there at the cave. This is always the truth. That we're always in a cave, and that there's always going to be, a way to move yourself up and out of this, this cave. But you have to believe that you're in a cage. You have to believe you're in a cage. You have to believe that. You have to get out of it. It's I feel like, once you start stripping down, I feel like people, strip the first layer and then they get stuck there. It's they'll pull down politics, and then they'll be a staunch libertarian. It's I've been through some of these phases, and it happens in philosophy too. They'll be stuck on Kant for a while. But what you ultimately come down to is that you're not even having your thought experience. You're not even having your conversations in the right place yet. You haven't gotten far. You haven't stripped far enough away to even start talking about the philosophy of government. You got to keep going. You're still in the cave. If you rip down the last, 2,500, 3,000 years of religion, and really understand what ripping that down means to all the way down to our money system, our tax system, our science, our Rockefeller indoctrination systems, schools, how everything has been orchestrated through religion and certain doctrines. You're whoa, we're totally slaves. And then people fall into this, they immediately start going into being in Anunnaki and this other stuff. I'm you're just talking about the same brothers we just dropped. Humanity's been going on for a long time, and then it's you go back 200,000 years, and you're they were talking about the same kind of fucking gods back then too. I feel that there's just this.
Everybody out there, anybody that hears this, you are an absolute slave to other people. Everybody's a fucking slave.
We're particularly a slave to religion as a society, though. What we're forced to learn about in schools and the hours we live our lives working and stuff, it's bullshit. All of it.
Yeah. Yes.
And please don't get me wrong. Like, as a tradesman, like, I take appreciation in your trade. You work with stone most of the time. I think that, like, masons kind of have something right. Like, they keep the knowledge of stone masonry alive amongst themselves and hide it from the rest of the world. Because houses are, like, I think it's immoral that houses are made out of cardboard and they fall down after like 10, 15 years. It's disgusting. We should make houses out of stone and nothing else. Like you want a civilization to last, make its houses out of stone. It will last forever. It'll last thousands of years. People will have to get so goddamn lazy that they stop remortaring those things every 50 years. Like that. Society has to get so good that people are so fucking fat and lazy that they won't remortar their houses. Like, I'm not saying get rid of modern technology. I'm just saying houses alone. You make bathrooms.
You've seen, like, the movie Idiocracy, yes?
Of course. Of course.
Like, I truly believe that that's where we're headed.
These shapes in the stream. There's a couple of them throughout. I'm just going to talk about this one really quick. These shapes are like not perfectly symmetrical. There's some different wave characteristics of sound and the way sound travels from one room to the next. Like I said, that we could like do with AI that are pretty impressive in this one, as well as one of the back chambers and another one of the other ones, like the way, and they started doing experiments on it, and they're supposed to put out another episode pretty soon with the sound experiments that they've been doing. It's cool.
Yeah.
I think they were like healing chambers. I think it resonates sound and like
very powerful.
View. Like if you had the right like alchemical solutions, and I'm not saying unscientific, magical. I say magic, but I don't mean magic. I mean quantum mechanics most of the time, like undiscovered quantum mechanics with using RF radiation. Like this is educated guess. This is not hocus pocus. Like using certain RF radiation, certain kinds of sound waves, and like these ones work well in certain kinds of atmospheres and stuff. So like these ones would be like fine tuned to Earth's atmosphere. You understand? So like these things are very intentional in their design. We don't know exactly what those designs are. We have started to study them, but there's been almost no study done of these kinds of designs ever in the history of documented science. So this is uncharted territory. But this is like something that I feel like is just common sense, like beamed into my head. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure these technologies exist. I feel like it'd be stupid to not believe that. I mean, like the Egyptians are a perfect example of that. They clearly did not use manpower to move those stones. Like it's just not possible. Yeah. You would have too many deaths. Like you would just have so many people dying from those things fucking falling over and breaking.
Cheap.
Huh?
Life is very cheap.
I just don't think there's that many humans, man. There's freaking 2.3 million stones in one of those things. Like you don't have the money, like, and the people and the manpower. I don't believe it. Where the stones came from, the sheer size of some of them, like you can't have enough men to get underneath one of those. Like you just can't. Like the way they cut them and stuff was supposedly by smashing. No, don't believe it. I'm not saying I know. I'm just telling you that the story that I'm told is horseshit. That's what I'm saying. It's horseshit. Yeah. So don't overthink my belief systems, please.
Well,
you don't need to.
I mean, you choose to use the words that you use.
Well, like I don't know. I think that there's like they probably used it. Like I'm telling you, from what science tells me, is that it's probably likely that they used a combination of technologies that we don't find all that dissimilar to some of the technologies we use today. They just have better forms of it. Like they probably had good water jets and lasers, and their software systems and their 3D imaging was really spectacular. That's like not even like a question, right? Like I feel like that's common sense now once you know a little bit about it and know a little bit about engineering. I mean, right?
Yeah.
So then,
I won't argue with you.
Right. So I'm not trying to talk outside the realm of reason. They're clearly using sound. this advanced technology that was placed here at least 100,000 years ago, in my opinion, were clearly using, atmospheric fluid dynamics to their advantage in some way. They're clearly designed for that, like atmospheric fluid dynamics. That's what, I don't know what else to call it, really. Acoustics. So, and like they probably use a combination of a bunch of theories and stuff that are beyond what we've studied in mathematics so far. That's what I would guess. So it's it's conjecture beyond that educated guess that this is what they're using in the electromagnetic spectrum. But nonetheless, like it's going to be within that cone of truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So you're telling me that we can't access a little bit better engineering in our heads than the shit we got today? And you're telling me that we probably can't pull some electrons out of the atmosphere to run our washer and dryer? Like, I don't know. I think that's all a lie. Am I willing to entertain those kinds of things?
It very well may be. And it very well may be. I mean, which begs the question, why don't we start running some of these experiments?
Dude, that's why I want to move to Russia. Dude, that's why I want to move to Russia. Because I want to start doing it. I told you, I want a lab.
You can't do it here?
No, I'm not going to do it in the United States. Arizona's the hottest fucking place on the planet, or like the second hottest. It's like Dubai or Arizona. It's like, fuck that. I'm gonna go to Russia where my money goes twice as long. I'm treated twice as well. And I can buy a house made out of stone in a vineyard for half the price of this house. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm not even so certain I want to sell my house here. I'm not going to do it unless I absolutely have to. If there's any way financially I can keep this house, I'm going to.
That makes sense.
Oh, speaking of which, it's a little bit of a digression, but let's hit it real quick. My back surgery. Did I tell you about that? Did I tell you how awful?
You told me you did it.
Did I tell you how awful of an experience it was?
No.
No?
No, you did not.
God, so like I really feel like everybody that was in that office was high as a kite, right? Like that they were on drugs. Like I don't know how else to say that. Like so the lady who admitted me like wanted me to pay $4,000 and I was like that's not what I'm supposed to do. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, ugh. She clearly wasn't sorry. She was being totally gross. Trying to get money out of me. Anyways, so I sat in the waiting room for like an hour and I was there 15 minutes early for my pre-op at 8:00. And surgery was supposed to be at 9. And so at 9:05, they finally called me back. And, the nurse was just like, fake butt, fake tits, fake lips. She totally looked like she was high on Xanax with lipstick everywhere, sticking a needle in me. And the surgeon comes up to me and goes, why are you late? I'm like, I'm not late. I've been waiting for an hour and a half. And he's like, they told me you were late. And I was like, no, I was not late. And I'm like, why is the nursing staff lying about me being late? Like, I was here the whole time. Like, what in God's name are you talking about? You know?
Wow.
Anyways, I was kind of bent, and now I'm like late for surgery, and like the surgeon's all pissed off at the nurse, and the nurse being a bitch, and I'm just like, this is just an awful experience, right? I get out of surgery, everything's
terrible.
Yeah, everything's fine. Like I'm out of the hospital before the anesthesia even wears off. My wife gets me out of there, and like no nurses called me afterwards or anything. The surgeon called me later that day, but like a nurse was supposed to call me post-op and like tell me about my meds and stuff, and my meds never got sent. And then here I am, strapped to a chair for like 3 or 4 days because I just had back surgery. Dude, fuck them. Like, oh my God, it's such a miserable experience. And then my like lawyer and the doctor called me and asked me how it was, and I was like, oh, kind of crappy. It's like, I don't have a filter. I'm like, that was kind of an awful experience, to be honest. Like you recommended this guy and you're the surgeon, and they both kind of gave me lip, and I was like, well, dude, I'm just being honest. Like, I'm not trying to be rude to you, like I'm not trying to be ungrateful. It was just kind of freaky, like, I'm not out to get anybody, I promise. So
Yeah.
it was just awful experience. I just don't want to have anything to do with that ever again. My God. Just get me out of that system.
I mean, that's our healthcare system. I've been
God,
out of
it's
it
so
for
bad.
years.
So, oh yeah, but I mean, at some
refuse.
point you're going to get sucked into it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I certainly don't want to be.
That's fair. Oh
I don't want to have anything to do with the medical system in this country.
No,
If
it's actually
something
a
was
video
ever
I like.
seriously wrong with me, I would probably tuck tail and out of this country.
I wonder if I can find
Like
that.
my
reel.
app was on fire.
There's a fun
Like
reel
my
about
app
that.
was on fire, bro.
So I mean, sometimes though you're gonna get stuck, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. Absolutely.
Oh man, videos get pulled down so fast. I need to like save them. It's kind of miserable how fast stuff gets pulled down. I got a
Well,
video-
is it being pulled down, or are you just not able to find it? That's the
No,
question.
no, it gets pulled down. See, like these ones, they say that they're pulled down, not available because of privacy rights. Stuff gets pulled down. And whether or not it's privacy
Wow.
rights or
One thing I want you to
or them just not wanting those videos up, I'm not sure. But it was just a video of Dana White, and Dana White says I don't talk to modern doctors about my health at all, ever. You know who Dana White is?
That sounds familiar. Who's that?
The CEO of UFC.
Oh, okay.
But he's jacked and he's healthy. He's probably going to end up being a creep just because they always are, but...
And his reasoning is, I mean, probably the obvious. They're all creeps.
If I break my arm, I'm going to go see a doctor. If I need surgery, I'm going to go see a doctor. My general health, never again. None of them know what they're talking about. They're all full of shit. All they know is to put you on pills and put you on medicine. That's all they know. Never talk to a doctor about my general health ever again. If I break my arm, I'm going to go see a doctor. If I need surgery, I'm going to go see a doctor.
That's the way I feel about it too. Like, it's a shame that all the other stuff has to be a part of that as well. You don't have a choice. You're always stuck having to deal with doctors who use pharmacology for everything to do those things like broken bones and whatnot and surgeries. It's a shame that technology advances together.
They're taught to. That's
don't.
what's crazy. It's for profit now, not for the betterment of humanity.
Sure.
I don't think this stuff
Which is
real.
fucking
Listen to
disgusting.
a
It's
Rob
something
Van
that should have
Zant's
never
debate.
been made for profit. I mean, what the fuck, people?
I feel like it's inevitable. It's inevitable. I feel
But
like
it's
it's inevitable.
disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
I mean, I think all that stuff's like a murder industry, right? And I feel like in the United States, it's become so successful. I feel like it's become so successful in the United States that you can't get away from it anymore. Like, requires too much work. And you put on top of that like a big portion of your earnings go to essentially what I believe are baby eaters, you know? Like, I really do believe that like Hollywood and the U.S. government are just their, organized crime, human trafficking, organized crime syndicate. So really what I believe they are. You can call it whatever the hell you want, but all of them. Trump, not Trump, and all of them. Like, where's the Gary Oldman? I need to record this one, the Gary Oldman. I love this.
I mean, I believe that there's certain things, whether you believe it or not, you probably shouldn't say.
Oh, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm gonna move to Russia. Putin says this stuff all the time.
Yeah, but you're still here, man.
Yeah, but dude, I mean, that's what I mean. There's a lot of conditioning. I got a lot of work to do to get over there, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna. Have you seen this clip before? There we go. Have you ever watched this movie, The Professional?
I think so, yeah.
What do you mean, everyone?
Love it. It's the way I feel about it. That is the way I feel about it.
Everyone.
When people go ask me, oh yeah, what about this guy? That is the way I scream. That is the way I scream. That is the way I feel about it.
I mean, it's hard not to feel that way, I'll give you that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you're either complicit in it or you know, or partake in it directly. That's really the way I feel about it. I'm just going to play some alternative tech videos.
Well, I mean, you've got basically an epidemic of people that want to do better, but feel paralyzed because of maybe fear or the feeling of helplessness, the feeling that they absolutely unequivocally cannot make a difference in any way, shape, or form. So, I mean, what do you say to somebody to, like, try and get them to, like, step up and do better? I mean, how do you even approach that?
This is fun. Let me show you this. That's the thing, is that what really pisses me off, like I'm on some forums that are like shameful fake archaeology, and these people are just so dismissive of being open-minded about anything. It's like, I know exactly how you vote, what your kid's hair color is like, what books you read to them. Like, you're so stereotypical in your views. Like, I don't understand why you're so closed-minded about this. Why they're so aggressively against it.
Because sheep can only go ba, and that's all they can do.
Sorry,
they go by and they follow each other.
Downright hateful. Just hateful to these people who would just dare to have an open mind. And I'm learning that, like, it's either get away from it or get gang stalked.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's something you need to understand. People need to learn how to modulate their speech. They need to learn. Like, you talk about casting spells. Well, I'm telling you that you need to know your spell forms better than anybody else around you.
Oh, I agree.
You will have much better results. If you want to affect change and you want to talk to people about these things that may be a little closed-minded, or they're a sheep, and you think they might be intelligent enough to break themselves out of the sheep behavior, you have to modulate your spell form. You need to be able to very carefully and very intentionally and very specifically say what you mean, and you also need to say it in a way with enough context that gets the point across without drawing a false conclusion from the other person's mind. So, if you're having a conversation and you want somebody to think a certain way, you need to be very careful about the words you use to elicit the response you want. And if you just say whatever pops into your head, like you're assuming that person's in your head and they know what you're thinking, that's folly. You might as well be just blabbing words, just puking words, and like nobody knows what the fuck you're saying, because you're not going to elicit the response you want. Are you following me?
I mean, I think so. I'm following you. So what's what's your remedy then?
My remedy is you need to pay more attention to how people react and the words that you're using.
Okay.
Your spell form, if you will. And it's all trial and error. And when you use certain words and a certain string, and you elicit a response you don't necessarily want, then you need to change the word until you get a response you do want. And then continue doing that, and you need to refine that to the point where you're now eliciting the response you want much more often than not. Like,
well,
it's not going to work on everybody, but it'll work on most people.
And this is where I, like you and I agree, that I think that there's just a more scientific approach to it. And I hear you out. Like, I think some people, like, you've heard me say this too. I think that some people are just closer to the truth naturally. They just were born that way or whatever through their own experiences, travels, you name it. But that some people are just kind of closer to the truth than others to begin with. And, but once you come across it, like, so there's, in Dungeons and Dragons, I kind of like this analogy. There's, sorcerers and wizards. And, a sorcerer is somebody who comes by it naturally. They just kind of understand how to cast spells. Their book learning does not particularly help them. It's not real useful for them.
Yeah, that would be me.
It's good for them learning how to harness their, like, power and stuff like that, but as far as actually learning the spells so much, not so much. That's a wizard. Wizards are masters at research and study. They tend to be the good alchemists and, that kind of stuff. People that are, more research oriented for, simplicity's sake. So I kind of like that idea of when it comes to spiritual, the spiritual craft or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But I do think that, like, study and engagement with it, even for a sorcerer, particularly like low-level sorcerers, that it's beneficial. If you're granting me,
yeah, it all comes down to the way you learn, and that's really it.
Yeah. But I'm telling you that a lot of this, like so if you're willing to accept that this is the truth, I'm telling you it's a lot more powerful than you think it is. That's what, at least I think so. I think it's a lot more powerful than we give it credit for. And I don't think
it all has to come from a desire to do so. Which is where I always come into a roadblock, because my desire to actually affect any kind of change in any meaningful way is very, very low.
Here's the problem with you is that you have kind of become a master of your own box. But your box is you keep your box really small. Like, you could have a bigger box if you wanted to, easy.
Sure.
I know that this is important too. I will say that this
effort involved. I'm inherently lazy.
Yeah, but I think for me, I'm trying, like, to truth be told, that, like, the reason why I'm trying to get good at podcasting is because I'm lazy. I want to be able to make a lot of money in the shortest amount of time possible, and teaching and construction are not a good way to go about it. And they're soul stealing too. Like, they tear, like, construction tears your body up, and teaching tears your soul up. So, like, you got to pick your poison. And I haven't really found a place where I'm going to be able to fit in, but I know I'm going to be I know I'm going to get good at these tools. Like the tool, like, I know, because of my time in construction and education, like, I know how to research and learn how to do things. And I also know that I'm good at computers, like I have some natural talent for some of this stuff. I'm obsessive compulsive research. Like, so I'm trying to, like, play into my strengths here. If I'm going to learn a new skill set, like, and when I do spend time on it, I don't want it to feel like a chore. Like, I'm going to have plenty of chores. Like, I'm going to have to build my house, like, I'm going to, like, no one's going to have, I'm not going to be able to buy exactly what I want. I'm always going to be building things but I want to do it on my property. I want to do it for other people. I want to make it last.
I mean,
I
think it's it's absolutely the most purest form of enjoyment is to do things for yourself. I mean, but why do it for other people when you can do it for yourself?
Sure. Are you seeing
But
this?
At the end of the day, when you
stream?
have to do the things you love to go make money just to survive, it beats down creativity to the point where now you don't have the energy to do the things you love for yourself.
I think that's a part of manifestation though. Like because I've kind of felt that way most of my life, and I think that was the wrong way to think about things. I feel like we're programmed that we can't be happy in what we do all day, and it's a hard one to let go.
No, I love what I do, so don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it does take energy.
Yeah, but like think about like if you're gonna go spend all this energy on something, but you could get paid to like essentially live somewhere and you got to use the fruits of your labor. Wouldn't you much prefer that? I mean, think about how much building you do in a year. What if you got to use all of the building that you did? Are you telling me that you couldn't go and build for yourself way better than what anyone else could build? And like when it comes to electronics, housing, entertainment, kitchen, garden, your fruits, your vegetables, eggs, chicken, like, are you telling me you couldn't do it better than everybody else? Like, no, I know you could. Like, I know you could. That's one of the reasons why I want you to, like, I think that you are an important part of this, like, spiritual endeavor of mine. Because, you're the best builder that I know. So if I'm going to have a vineyard in Russia, I'm going to need to I'm going to have to recruit you at some point. It's going to have to be really nice and cozy over there. I'm going to have to send you pictures of me, like, with my arm around local women. Wine at the dinner table with my view of the countryside, like...
I mean,
I'll get you.
I don't think it would take me that much to
I'll get you.
I'll get you. A lot for me here.
I'll get you. Don't worry. But you get what I'm saying, like, if that could be what you build for instead, would you not? You can tell me you're not going to do that? Instead, you're going to break your back for someone else. But that's what I mean. I think that, like, an open-mindedness. It's like, I think particularly like our parents' generation. You've heard me say this before, that they're for whatever reason they're just not like particularly open to spiritual progress, and I think it's been a really disservice to their generation, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think that like they totally got sucked into consumerism and everything. Like having a brand new Ford F-250 for double market sticker value is more important to them than like building a house made out of stone for their children. It doesn't make sense to me, man. Like there's nothing you can do to change my mind about this. This might hurt anyone who listens to this. If they're an old person, this shit's gonna hurt their feelings, but it's the fucking truth. I just don't know what to tell you. Like, if it hurts you, it hurts because you know it's true. And if you don't think it's true, or if you left legacy for your children, then this comment will not ring.
Nobody is interested in any kind of leaving any kind of legacy for their children.
Like, I'm starting to think as a 5-dimensional creature. And I see these. Let me show you some of this stuff in the slideshow that I've been doing.
But in a lot of areas in the world, these sort of things are more important to people in general. I
think that stuff like this that's on the stream here is more important. Like leaving, like, see how like untaken care of this is. Like, why is this building not being used and maintained? What the heck's wrong with people? Like, why do we not maintain our buildings and build out of stone and take care of the stuff that we have? Why is everything for tourists? Like, why do we not build things that last anymore? Like tombs.
Because it makes us more money. It makes somebody more money.
I know.
To build out of sticks.
But you just gotta stop thinking that way. Just stop using their system. Like, they think that this structure was like a marketplace out in the middle of the freaking desert that stood for like 1,000 years. Like, this would have been a place to go get shade in the middle of the day and trade. And that was a big market out front. And it was hidden, or it was hidden from the sun certain times of day. And it was designed and positioned just for this. And that's what you're seeing right there. And there was like a city that was built out around this one structure itself, you know? And it stood for 1,000 years. The fact that we don't do stuff like this anymore, I feel like it's a moral sin that we don't do this. I feel like it's a mortal sin that we don't build structures that last. We don't build things. I was reading like weights of old Ferris wheels and stuff that they were like made out of wrought iron and they lasted like 200 years. And like some of the cars weighed like a metric, like ungodly amounts of weight, like 10,000 pounds. So the whole structure weighed something like half a million pounds. Old Ferris wheels. And like this technology's been covered up. It's like, no, they took all those materials and melted them down for war. And lied to you about what they did with it, and they lied to you about it for the next 200 years. Because they lie about everything. They took down huge structures to make huge monuments that were made out of wrought iron and cast iron and all kinds of metals and stuff, and melted that shit down for tanks and went out into the fucking desert and blew it up and made more deserts. Like straight up. And then lied to you about it and took it out of your history books. Humans didn't make anything great because we couldn't help ourselves from melting it down and turning it into a weapon of war. Literally, that's what history books are. Like, it doesn't matter what society you grew up in this modern age. Like China, you don't think that they didn't get rid of all that shit? Like, out of their history books? Like, we melted all this stuff down, so we had to take it out of textbooks. Or it got blown up, so we had to take it out of textbooks. It's a joke. It's the truth, though. It's the truth. It's true. That's like I'm so anti-war. I'm so humanist. Like, stop blowing each other up. There's better.
Oh, it's terrible.
Like, why do we tear?
No purpose to it.
Why do we tear buildings like this down? Why do they not exist anymore? Like huge buildings made out of like mixed stone and wood. Like, I really don't understand that. Why they pulled some of these down? Like little modern traditions. Like, I don't see any problem with joining modern technology with ancient technology.
They get to the point where it costs too much to fix them properly, and nobody wants to spend the money on. So they tear it down.
Some of this is really interesting. Like I said, one of these,
and because most of the sheep out there, they want new. New. It's the consumerist in them. They want new, shiny, new.
Check this out.
Fake this, fake that. Doesn't matter how good it is. It just has to look good.
Listen, see this picture?
Yeah.
I think this is near those Barbara caves, or the people that are working on that one are working on this one too. I think it's another cave in India where they think that originally it was carved out with those same methods that they're talking about, but they're so old and that people have been carving on them for so long and practicing their trade using the old stuff that you can no longer see the original architecture. They've been carved so deeply into that any recognizable forms, other than the overall layouts, are really precise, right? Like the original pillars are really precise, but all the decorations now have carved over the entire surfaces, if not once, twice, 3 times in some places, that stones were so sacred in these halls that they've been written over 3 or 4 times. And some of the, like the interior cuttings, are like perfect for arcs and stuff like that. And this particular one, if I believe it's the one I remember correctly, this thing's like 2-3 kilometers long. It goes into a mountainside. I wonder if I can find another picture of it. So it's got 3 different temples to 2 different gods. And these are all very post, so a lot of this stuff's post flood. So I'll use this reference when you hear me say this post-flood. It just means like post Moses, or post the Ark, because that's like there's a clear difference in the writings, prior to that and after that, in like technology levels and stuff. So I would say post-flood technology, where man's kind of like building up his technology again and learning stonecraft and maybe even using some of these old structures, figuring out how to turn them back on and such, or run them at limited capacity. But anyways, but they've been cut into, post-flood 2 or 3 times already. So it's very possible that if they were around before the floods, they got carved into 3 or 4 times too. So it's really hard to say where some of this technology's come and gone and what writings are what. And so there's a lot of crossover. It's hard to interpret.
Yeah, especially when you have people living in the same place. Everybody puts their little touch on it.
Exactly.
You have so many generations
Exactly.
between when it started and where we're at.
Well, and like, let's say, like, so
Next to impossible to tell where it started.
I think that these caves, at the very least, are 50,000 years old. So that would be, they've been written on 3 or 4 times post flood, and they're probably written on several times pre-flood. But my guess is they're probably a lot older than that. They're probably more like starting at somewhere like 125,000 years old. And they're the ones that we see are ones that haven't been completely destroyed.
The flood?
Supposedly around like 11,000 BC.
BC?
Yeah, BC.
Okay.
So say between 13 and 14,000 years ago. Earliest they put it at is around 12,500 BC. Like the latest back is 12,000, and the earliest they think it would have been like 10,500 or 11,500, somewhere around there, depending on which calendars you go with. There's a little bit of discrepancy down to about 1,000 years, depending on which text you read. But within 1,000 years, they're about 13,000 years old. The texts say that the flood was. Let's say between 13 and 11,000 years ago.
I mean, we really live in a weird time in humanity.
I kind of believe that we do. I kind of believe that we're in a time where we kind of feel like we're probably stuck in the Matrix, because we're getting to a point where this has happened a lot of times to us, and we've had to rebuild our technology, and each time we get faster and faster and faster at it. Like now we're getting to the point where within 10,000 years we can be rebuilt with social media and nuclear power, and who knows what the next couple hundred years will bring in advancements. So yeah, I do kind of feel like we're at a crossroads where we either like blow ourselves up and become like just if not blow ourselves up, just become complete cattle to the upper class, or hit a level of expansion where of mind expanding where we kind of evolve and get over it being ruled by psychos.
I mean, we're already ruled by psychos.
Yeah, but I think we have the opportunity. Like, see, here's the thing: is that I think that the individual has special powers, that we have magic, right? To all the Muggles, like that we have this magical ability. And so if we start putting that magical ability to use, and we just start building stone structures all over the planet and engaging in building orchards and vineyards and alternative technologies, and start working together harmoniously and synchronously, and make our own hive minds that are much higher energy, that we will be able to affect space-time in ways that they do not see coming. That we will be able to come and manifest so much better futures that they're going to have a hard time keeping us back. That like there will just be too much of it around us. We will essentially make a time bubble of protection around us, and they won't be able to wipe us out anymore. That's what I believe.
I hope so.
But I also believe that it has to be willful. That it's based in karma. It's based in, generations and generations of evolution and understanding the truth. And the truth is that there is this big hive consciousness, and we have to break free from it. Like, we have to break free from this timeline, and we have to accept that there's something greater in order to be able to do so. Like, every individual, if they want to, essentially be a part of the greater hive mind, like the good hive mind, like they have to break away from that, like, boomer, tranny, politics, war thinking. Like, you have to rise above it. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I believe. And that's hell. That's hell. Like, getting stuck there. That's hell to me. Getting stuck in that level of frustration of having to deal with fucking traffic every day. Like, why do we have to deal with traffic? We need to manifest that out. Like, it's so frustrating and awful on what it does to people.
They get too close together. People want they want to pile on top of each other just naturally, and I don't know why.
We have the internet. Start moving with your mind. Like, if you're going to use your body and your energy, use it to make a dent in space-time, not to burn carbon fuels and create frustration for other people around you. Does that make sense?
Misery loves company, and we just.
I know.
People trying to make
transcend
everybody
it.
else around them miserable.
Transcend it. Like, you don't I mean, I know you have to travel for work, but you're a pretty low weight, low carbon footprint person. Like, that's what I mean. Transcend it. Some people start higher. Some people start, but just understanding a little better off, and like they still have cognitive dissonance even when they like engaging in it themselves. Don't have the cognitive dissonance, Eric.
Well, I know what's going on. My eyes have always been open, but
gotta have like that's what I'm telling you. I like your confidence about it. I have a lack of confidence problem, and confidence is like very important.
The confidence is important, and then being very careful about what you say and how you say it. And we're all humans, so we slip up all the time and make mistakes, but learn from them and do better.
Barbara Caves. For short-ass people. I forget the height of that monk, but he's hell short. They're crazy. That's the whole... Ooh, I've been reading something.
People were shorter. It's just modern times where people are growing taller, but...
Here's a fun one. We've been at it for a while, so we can shut off the stream. But I want to leave on one note. Just want to plant a seed for you. So I have been paying attention to like some older texts that talk about creation. They talk about essentially the solar system and some events that happened in the solar system. No one really knows how long ago, but we could say that they happened. Roughly the billions of years ago that they say that they occurred. Like that science says it occurred. There isn't any reason not to believe that the solar system isn't like 4 billion years old. However, there are some events that have taken place during that time. Some of them probably a little bit more recently than we might expect. I'm not going to put time frames on them. I don't think we can really comprehend them anyways. We don't understand them. But somewhere along those in those 4 billion years that these events have occurred. So these events are pretty standard. They're in several tablets, and it goes something like this: that before the solar system as we know it today, it was named a little bit differently. I always forget all the names, but Mercury was like Ea, and Venus, I forget, was a pretty one, so she was the goddess. Earth was something called Tiamat. The moon was one of them. I forget what the moon was called. Kingu. The moon was called Kingu. And then they don't really take into account Ceres, which is the planet the little dwarf planet that lives in the asteroid belt. They don't really talk about it. Mars, the red planet. Saturn, the ring planet, which is also like one of the gods, like Jupiter and Saturn are like the two minor gods. The sun is God. But the sun like gets left out of this stuff quite a lot because, anyways. But they also knew about Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, right? They knew about all the planets. And the text talk about each one of these planets, describes each one of the planets, but it also describes another planet, which it calls Nibiru. That has an elongated orbit. And so like Nibiru at some point in time comes smashing through the solar system in a pretty like lopsided orbit and comes in. They say it's the Traveler. I think it might be Nibiru, but anyways, Nibiru comes in and smacks into a bunch of planets, right? And a bunch of moons, like particularly Kingu, our moon, and Earth smack into Nibiru. Or that, Nibiru, yeah, right? So there's some difference in the text and where Kingu came from where Moon came from. Some of the texts say that Kingu was on Nibiru and was left when Nibiru smacked into Tiamat, or that Tiamat and Kingu smacked into Nibiru, right? Anyways, Tiamat's Earth, and Tiamat's an old god, and Kingu, of course, is an old god too. It's like supposed to be our protector, right? Well, after we smacked into this planet, that it stripped off a big hunk of Earth and calmed Tiamat down, which is the dragon that you see in between. This is what people say is this is the dragon you see in between South America and Antarctica. But anyways, that's Tiamat. So, but it gives Earth a attitude adjustment, and then Earth gets renamed to something like Earth, like Gaia or something, like this calm, sweet thing, you know, after it gets his ass kicked by Nibiru. Anyways, and then Kingu sticks around to be like the protector, but also to be like a jail for Tiamat, so that Tiamat can't get out again, and the Earth stays as Gaia. So it's like yin yang, right? Okay. Anyways, the texts kind of repeat this, but that would say, and the way they count the planets, they count out from Nibiru. So they come in as like all the the 12th planet, which is Nibiru, and then Earth is 7. Anyways, the way you count, that whoever wrote these tablets, they were watching from outside or from a planet that was on a weird elliptical orbit that passes through the solar system. So they say every 3,600 years. There's some mathematical proof for this too in the tablets. It's every 3,600 years. It's an elliptical orbit that hits its perigee, which is the closest to the sun, every 3,600 years. And there might be there's some other scientific proof that there is actually some object out there like that. Like its size, they say, is 10 times to a lot more times larger than Earth, but it's all still speculation, but MIT is definitely looking for it as we speak. Anyways, these tablets...
something that could drastically mess with our tides and all kinds of shit.
Hell yeah. But it wouldn't be all the time that it would come close to Earth.
Create another flood.
It wouldn't come close to Earth all the time, but they think that that's the reason why Ceres can't recollect as a planet, that it probably comes in between Mars or in between Mars and Jupiter in the Kuiper Belt. So that's probably where it passes through. And it might, on occasion, come through and kick out quite a lot of space debris and fuck with some stuff. So not that it would necessarily be a cataclysmic event, but it gets close enough it could be.
Such as the dinosaurs and whatnot.
Like kicking out an object large enough to create the extinction of life on Earth, or part of life on Earth. Yes, those kinds of things. But all this stuff is kind of cutting edge science, that this is the truth. That there probably is this extra planet out there, right? So, this is starting to become more mainstream. You do have big universities studying this. Like they think that Oumuamua might be on that same elliptical pass, but on like a different version of it, because Oumuamua is on like a 220-year loop, but then it just course corrected, and now it's going to come back. It'll be back in 20 years. Some really weird, crazy other stuff that like are connected to it, and like some of the mathematics behind it that are still under question. And unless you're like someone in those circles, like I can read the math and I understand what the physicists are saying, but like how much I'm supposed to believe of that, I'm skeptical. It depends on who you talk to, but it comes from legitimate sources. If you like want to, there's certain podcasts you can listen to. I just do this all the time. But anyways, there's this planet out there. It dances around in about a 3,600 mile elliptical orbit, and it passes by Earth, and it's been passing by Earth for a long time. It's been well recorded in the documents to come around about every 3,600 years. And we're about due for a pass. That's what it says.
Well, we'll find out.
Right? So, or either that the last time it passed was about the time Jesus was around, and we're not due for another pass for about another 1,000 years. And then that's when the next big talk to God will be. What will be that 33 to 3,600 orbit that they're talking about. So and they think Jesus was about 2,300 years ago. So it would be last 2,000, somewhere between 2,000 and 2,200 years ago. So that'd be another like 1400 years possibly before Nibiru comes back around. But we should be able to see it a lot sooner than that. We should be able to see it in this generation.
That'll be interesting.
Well,
All right, I'm gonna go get lunch. I'm starving.
All right, we're out. Have a good day.